Previously, in The Eminence in Shadow, Sid stole a ring from Pervashat, thinking it must be an expensive ring, but that ring was actually a trigger to call out the Ragnarok. So while Sid gets to Rose to convince her to become the ruler of the kingdom, he accidentally left that ring behind. Rose thought Sid proposed his love to her. So she refused to marry Pervashat and wore the ring as a sign of her and Sid's love, but that ring played a recording of the King Raphael. And the king exposed Pervashat and his plan to take over the kingdom, and his connection with an unknown organization. Lastly, he stated that Rose should be the new ruler of the Oriana kingdom. And right then Night Beyond Men got in and killed both Pervashat and Rose's mother, because now the ring has gotten into contact with the royal blood. So he can call out the Ragnarok with his remote, and the Ragnarok demonstrated its overwhelming power right from the start, but when it tried to attack Rose, Shadow appeared and slashed its arm off. And soon after, Alpha received word of the Ragnarok, a monster capable of wreaking havoc on any lands, so Edda considered sending in a ship for assistance. But Alpha was confident that as long as Shadow was present, nothing could go wrong. Shadow brought in a few of girls from Shadow Garden to deal with the dragon's minions, so that he could have fun with the dragon himself. Shadow deflects the dragon's attack with a single punch. As for the Night Beyond Men, Epsilon and Beta came out to deal with him. Modred used a warning shot with his sword, and Epsilon recognized that sword is an invisible sword created by an elf. It was an elven artifact, and more so all the things he's wearing were also artifacts, so as an elf, both Epsilon and Beta were set to take all of those things back. Modred gets red and attacks in anger, but Epsilon matches his power level herself, which surprised the dumb Modred, but before killing him. Both girls want to get all the information about the cult from him. As for Rose, she goes out to save the citizens and sees the onslaught of those dragons. But thankfully Shadow Garden were keeping the casualties to a minimum. There Margaret comes out to Rose. And Rose orders her to take the citizens to the cellar underground of the castle to keep them safe. Margaret always disrespected Rose after she killed her father the king. But after learning the whole reason she was forced to kill her own father, Margaret realized her mistake and accepted Rose as her new queen. But away from there, even though Sid was fighting with that absurdly powerful dragon, he wasn't breaking even a little sweat. He was seeing this as a boss fight that happens a lot in the video game. But Sid being smug wasn't just for show. He just strangled the darn dragon into his magic strings. But before he kills that overgrown lizard, Rose orders her men to help the citizens. She was worried because Shadow was busy with that lizard and Mordred was free, but her worries were for naught because Epsilon and Beta had already beaten the crap out of Mordred. Bro was still confident he could kill all of them because he could control Ragnarok, so Epsilon and Beta happily decided to wait there, but at the time, Beta was interested in learning about what the cult was up to these days. Mordred usually refused to tell them, but Beta assured him that he could order Ragnarok to kill them at any time. So it won't matter if he spilled the beans. Mordred agreed to share the information. He told them about the worlds that exist outside of this world, and Beta thought Mordred was talking about space and planets, but she was wrong. Mordred was talking about different dimensions. They named it realms. Alright, I'm pretty sure you all know Mordred is talking about parallel worlds that exist but are difficult to approach. All of these worlds revolve around a single point, so the cult discovered that the worlds that revolve around becomes connected at some point. The cult discovered that magic didn't exist in this world for a period of time, but when this world collided with another world, the magic flooded into this world as well. But the biosphere changed drastically and those who survived became users of magic, so the cult believes that humans may have also come from a different world into this world due to collision. And to prove that theory, they dug up the ancient history, and there was an island that vanished into thin air. That island was called Atlantis. So this also proved that the hand of Diablo came from another world, and with the power from that hand, the cult created an artificial gate to call out the Ragnarok. That same thing happened few hundred years ago by the ruler of Oriana, and as a result, many magical creatures came to this land, and the cult of Diablo saved the Oriana kingdom and closed the gate. And that is why the cult wanted a price for their service to save the kingdom, which is royal blood. Normally Rose would have been given to the cult because she had high magical powers and royal history, but her father, King Raphael, refused to hand over Rose. And that is why the cult wants to create a new kingdom after Ragnarok destroys the Oriana kingdom, but sadly his plans failed because Shadow just destroyed that half-baked lizard. Mordred lost his mind seeing the ultimate creature fall out so easily, so he just buried his face into the flesh of Ragnarok and took on the powers of Ragnarok to beat Shadow. So Shadow goes along with Mordred to play a little more and beats him up with just his fists and brought in the outer space. Sid started to tell a little story of God and how powerful that gods can be, but later humans realized the power of God and made a weapon of their caliber called nuclear weapon. And seeing this, Shadow just realized his goal to become even more powerful than nukes and used his atomic blast that shined throughout the entire world. And surprised everyone who knew it was Shadow's powers. But that junk of power explosion created a black hole and sucked Shadow right into it, after which the entire darn place shifts back to the Earth. In short, we are back to the place where episode 1 of Eminence in Shadow started, with none other than Nishino. She was still remembering Sid, but right now she's 20 years old. And in the time Sid was in another world, the Earth has changed drastically. Nishino goes out to look for her friends in the destroyed world, but the thought of Sid never leaves her mind. But suddenly she felt someone was after her and gets ready to attack with magic, but no one was there, so she thought it was a false call, but it wasn't. Those same kidnappers kidnapped Nishino again. Like they did in episode 1 of this anime, on someone's orders, and that someone wants her dead, but the big guy remembers how badly he was beaten by Sid that time and lashes out at Nishino. However, a slow voice of walking comes from the ceiling, and with a big bang Sid once again drops in to save Nishino like before. He beats up both of those guys again this time, and saved Nishino once again. But right there season 2 ends. Honestly, this anime knows how to keep the viewers on edge. But if you want to watch the next season, just stay tuned on my channel, and subscribe to get the latest updates. And also, it has also been confirmed that season 3 will be a big movie of The Eminence in Shadow, but the release date has not been revealed by the studio, so stay tuned on my channel for more updates. Till then, take care.